Hi there. We were having a discussion about what might be kind of motivating and driving the inner and outer journeys in some sort of an elemental sense or in an archetypal sense when we looked at things. And I tried going through a whole lot of things, and then I just suddenly thought, oh, okay, let's have a look at second element and see where that lands us, because second element is always so interesting when looking at the elemental archetypes. Um, so anyway, I'm just going to have a look at that now. So here is the circle of archetypes and elements, two elements each, and we have two journeys, as we know in this, which are shown, in the middle here by these squares, yeah, orange and blue squares, yeah, and they go as an outer journey, which uses the closed archetypes that are also fixed, and that goes clockwise. Warrior, up to matriarch, over to patriarch, down to actress, back over to warrior, and onwards. The other one is an inner journey, which is open archetypes, and they are mutable archetypes. And this goes counterclockwise, nymph or child, over to sage, down to hearth priestess or queen, over to fool, back up to child. Now, what I did after a while was just look at second element, and second element suddenly makes something very clear when you look at second element. Yeah. For instance, here, look at the outer journey. Warrior, fire first, earth second, goes up to earth first, earth and air. Earth and air, air second, goes over to air first, air and water. Water second goes down to water first, water and fire. Fire second goes over to fire first, fire and earth. So what seems to continually drive this journey is that the second element of an archetype seeks the next archetype, which actually has its second element as its first element. And the other thing is, of course, it has to be another closed archetype if it's a closed archetype, or it has to be an open archetype if it's an open archetype. Again, air second seeks air first, water second seeks water first, fire second seeks fire first. Now let's have a look at the open archetypes, the inner journey. Child or nymph, water first, air second, seeks air first. Earth second seeks earth first. Fire second seeks fire first. Water second seeks water first, and so they go on. So what seems to drive it is that the second element of an archetype, which we also sometimes have thought about this as if it was the inner element of the archetype, but the second element or the inner element looks for an archetype which has that very element first, so it's manifest. So its inner element, if you like, is looking for that same element but manifested in another archetype, and it's looking for it in an archetype that is likewise of the same quality. In other words, that it's that if it's in other words, if it's fixed, it looks for a fixed archetype. If it's mutable, it looks for a mutable archetype. Yeah. And that's what drives it. And it drives them both ways. And that's why they go in the directions they do as well. Because that's the only way you can find it. That's the only place. If it's looking for something which is on the same cross as it, in other words, mutable or fixed, it will only be able to find that second element in another archetype as its first element in one direction. It won't find it in the other direction. So that's what seems to drive the inner outer journeys, and it's what drives them in the directions that they go in.